So we are looking at the Law of One, session 6 today. You can sort of see we're getting through the book very slowly, but there are another 3 more volumes of this as well. So this is for my top tier Patreons. And so today's session is specifically where Don asks Ra about where they originate from. Okay, so as always, Ra opens with greeting the group in the love and light of the infinite creator. And Ra again informs Don that they are a social memory complex, but this time expands to say they are from Venus, but not Venus as we know it now. It was way before our time. Okay, so I've got Cheetos. So Ra states they are a very old race. Okay, and that their people reach the 6th density. And in the 6th density, they no longer had what we would call a physical body. They did have a body, but it's made up of golden light particles as opposed to the flesh that we have. Okay, so it's in the shape of a physical body, but that is very much like almost like a solid aura of golden light. Okay, and it was in this form of golden light that Ra visited the planet Earth. But sadly, they were seen as higher beings, gods, deities by the inhabitants. And this distortion of being viewed as deities was against the message of the Law of One that Ra had hoped to bring to the inhabitants to help awaken them and bring them along their journey of enlightenment, for want of a better word. So at that time, they left Earth and they went elsewhere in the galaxy to spread the message, basically. And Ra said they did this journeying through space, time, space through thought form. So they don't use craft as we know it. It's all done through thought. And they tried again to come down to Earth to see if they could try from a different perspective. And it wasn't just the Ra group, there's many groups that came. And this time, to try and dispel the myth of being seen as gods and angels and deities, Ra used thought manipulation to change the light particles to bring forth form, clothes, etc. to themselves, so that they would appear as humans. Okay. The other densities that also visited Earth did exactly the same thing, but again, they were all seen as now gods who, quote, walk amongst the people. So this coming to visit Earth and trying to help us on our journey of awaken and enlightenment, it was just causing more distortions, and it just it didn't work. So this led to a greater worship of these higher density beings, which was not in alignment with the message of the Law of One at all, and was causing more distortions. However, there are negative polarities, negative entities who took advantage of this to create what Ra call specific religions on this earth. Okay, and those religious practices dictated that those beings be exalted as like the one true God and stuff like that. Okay, and this is very much different to the other densities who literally came here just to offer guidance and just guidance and help and aid to the humans, so they could so these humans could fulfill their own journey, fulfill their own personal fulfillment and their own growth at a pace they were ready for, to any of the humans that called them. So the way I view that, this is my personal view, is if we look on things like gods and deities and stuff like that, there are some religions out there, I would say many of the Abrahamic ones, if I'm being very honest here, I don't mean to be biased, but it's kind of how it comes across, who dictate that you have to worship them, there is only their way, and they're very strict about it. There are other religions, which again would still be distortions because they're religions, but other religions who those deities are there, you call upon them and they come down, and they may set you some trials, or they may just help you out because you've asked, because you've left them offerings. But it's all to do with, in those religions, like the Greek religions and stuff like that, It's very much more about your personal growth, your personal journey, and that inner achievement to become godlike. You're always achieving, you're always trying to be a god, to go to Olympus, that's the aim, sort of thing. You want to be better. Whereas the Abrahamic ones are very, very strict. Okay, it's just their way, no other way, that sort of thing. I know it's a very simplified version, but that's kind of how my brain gets around that. It is now that the Ra group mentions to Don about the council that guards planet Earth. Okay, and Don questions Ra on this protective council. Ra replies that the council is 8th dimension and is located on the planet Saturn in what we would call the rings. Confusingly to me, Don does switch a lot between questions. I could go down one tangent and you think, oh, that's great, this is where we're going. And then obviously the brain goes, oh, I've got a different question. And it goes a completely different route. And you can see that Ra is not frustrated, but they're like, well, what relevance has this? But they will answer Don's questions, but sometimes the sessions will appear a bit jumbled because of that. So, even though he's just been told about this 8th dimension and Saturn and the rings, Don switches to a different line of questioning, and he asks if there are other species like humans on any other planet in our solar system. And Ra needs clarification on this, if Don means literally now or a time, without time, basically. And they, because they reply, quote, do you request space-time present information or space-time continuum information? And Don wishes for both. So Ra goes on to explain that in what we call, quote, past, there were third density beings on a planet known as various names, but that we presently call Maldek. The Maldek group came to Earth via harvest and were incarnated to this planet to undo their own distortions, okay, and to walk more in alignment with the law of one. And this incarnation occurred roughly 500,000 years ago. Now, Ra states that the length of a harvesting cycle is approximately 25,000 Earth years. In total, there are 3 goes at this harvest to see if we can move up a density level. And currently humans are on level 3. Okay. Now, the Maldek group were living within Earth, Ra says. Not on Earth, but in Earth, like inner Earth. And Ra, when further questioned by Don, states that the population of, quote, your planet contains many various groups harvested from other second dimension and recycled through third dimension spheres. You are not all one race or background of beginning on this planet. So whereas the humans aren't just humans, our DNA is made up of different species. And there are different species as well that walk upon this planet and within this planet. Don then wants to know how the transfer occurs and its connection to the law of one. Ra expands that the law of one is just that. All things are one, there is nothing else. And as we begin to grow in our understanding, self-journey, self-realization of this, we move more into alignment with the law of one. This is the cycle of growth, or awakening, as New Age people call it. So there are beings who watch this growth and, like the Ra group, are in active service of the infinite creator. And as we grow in our understanding, we become fulfilled and filled with light love. Now, this is from a personal perspective here, like a personal Caroline perspective. So please do not confuse, I'm going to say here, the light love that Ra talks about with the New Age love and light movement. Now, I'm not going to say this is every New Age person, because I'm quite New Agey, I'm spiritual, okay? But from what I've seen specifically on TikTok as well, the love and light movement within social media does indeed have elements of the Ra message of the infinite creator of light and love. But it carries with it many, many, many distortions. For example, I see a lot of them turn upon other creators who they do not like. The way that they turn on witches in particular, or those that hex and curse, is quite disgusting. And they often appropriate other closed practices as well. That's not to say that everyone in the New Age movement does that, but I do feel on social media is quite prevalent. And that is a distortion of the message of light, love. Remember, that's light, love, not what the New Age movement call love and light. They are two very different things, subtle but different things. So the Ra version of light, love is a true warmth. It's kind of how it's described, that you can feel deep inside, and embracing that we are both one and the same, but our journey is different because it's unique to us, okay? But there is an acknowledgement that shapes our outlook and acceptance of all without judgment. We don't judge because we are all one. So how can, it's a bit like when Jesus says, is it those without sin cast the first stone or something like that. So Christ consciousness is a real thing, and I believe in Christ consciousness. And again, the view of Jesus, of the view that churches have of and religion has of Jesus Christ, is a distortion of Christ consciousness, which is light and love. So we are all one. So who am I to diss someone else's practice? If it's their journey, we are all one. We are all traveling at our own time, our own space to get there. But we should do that in a kind, non-appropriate, I can't even talk, my flu is getting bad, a way that does not appropriate other cultures. Okay, so that's just personal opinion there. So yes, we should do this without judgment or discord, because we are all one. Right. So going back to the harvest, Ra states that at the end, all are harvested, even if it's just to be reincarnated again at level 3. His flu is still bad. If there are those needing to begin their awakening at level 3 again, then a different sub-logos will be chosen. Now, sub-logoses are planets. Okay, so if you've been harvested on planet Earth and you've had a few goes, they're like, well, obviously this setup isn't working for you. You will be harvested and put somewhere else for your personal growth. You've learned what you can from this planet, you'll go somewhere else to learn from that planet and grow that way, until you then go to the 4th, and then 5th and 6th density. So Earth is now vibrating towards being a 4th dimension planet, which is putting itself at odds with the 3rd density population that are living on it. Okay, so thus, as Earth tries to reshape herself naturally, there will be conflicts with humans. Once Earth has reformatted itself, it will be 4th density sub-logos. So it should be us to fit with the new Earth, not the Earth trying to fit in with us. Okay. Don, towards the end of the session, brings up UFOs quite specifically. It goes off on another tangent. And Ra explains that many of the UFOs we report to see are actually only thought forms. They're not really there. We have, as humans, convinced ourselves through our connectivity that we see something, thus we make an egregore of it almost, and thus it exists. Okay, so now it does exist, but it didn't exist because we've all believed in it so much, we've malformed it to occur. All right. We've believed in it so bad we brought it to life. Now, it's not to say there are no UFOs out there, because, Ra does mention that there are parts of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator that, that do visit us, okay? And that there are currently 53 civilizations comprising of 500 planetary consciousnesses, complexes in it, okay? The entities from many other galaxies as well as our own solar system, okay? So that's what this confederation is made up of, okay? So again, I'll go through that again just so we understand. The confederation is made up of 53 civilizations, okay? And those 53 civilizations comprise of 500 planetary consciousness complexes. Remember, because Ra is not just one, Ra is a social memory complex. So there's 53 civilizations, but within that, there are 500 social memory complexes that all work together from many other galaxies, including our own solar system, to be sitting on this confederation, okay? The confederation are not alike, they're all very different, but they are all skilled in the service of the law of one. So they've all reached different density levels, and they can all bring something to the table to help everybody else. Now, when pushed on the subject of spacecraft, Ra states the information is not important. He doesn't understand why, or I say here it's wrong, it's something about the god. Ra, the social memory complex, does not understand, so what is a spacecraft got to do with the law of one? It's irrelevant. It's, to them, the spacecraft is a spacecraft, it holds no relevance to the line of questioning. But Ra is very specific about it. He really doesn't understand why Don needs this information, but Don pushes Ra. And so Ra states that if this question needs to be answered for Don, then they will, quote, speak upon this subject, end quote. Ra states that if any entity wishes to appear around Earth, so like UFOs, then permission needs to be requested, okay? And that due to how previous entities had walked on the Earth, including the Ra group, and how this had been interpreted by humans, the planet is under quarantine to stop interference. We've had way too much DNA interference, we've had other interference, so the planet's under quarantine. So if you want to visit via UFO, because that's how you travel, you have to request, okay? At any one time, though, there have been as many as 15 Confederation entities in the skies, okay? However, entities are always available to us via our thoughts. So that could be through meditation, deity work on altars. We don't need a UFO to come down. We don't need a beam of light or however anybody travels to come down. We can just tap into the Confederation. We can tap into social memory complexes. We can get downloads from our higher selves. The information is always available to us if we just open up our minds to it. At the time of the session, on the 24th of January 1981, Ra states there were actually 7 craft in the skies while that session was occurring. So on the 24th of January 1981, there were 7 craft in the skies of Earth whilst that session was happening. The purpose of this was to allow humans to become aware of infinity through the wonder of questioning of the mysteries of unknown without any longer having direct influence upon the planet. So that's quite a hefty session to get through, especially as I am still recovering from flu and my F&D is having a really big flare up and stuff. So I do apologise if that came across a bit distorted, but the takeaway from that really boils down to Ra, the social memory complex, comes from our planet Venus, but not at our time. It would way before, that there was a group called Maldek, or Maldek, however you want to pronounce it, that came and visited our planet too. They do not live on the Earth, they live inside the Earth, okay? That there is a harvest that takes place, and we have 3 attempts at that harvest to move up a density. And that if we do not achieve what we need to on this planet, we will then reincarnate on a different planet to try and achieve our density change. That there is a confederation that watches this planet. I would also assume other planets, is a big assumption for me, but I would assume not just this planet, but everywhere where this is happening. And they work within the guise of a joint team made up of memory complexes, 500 memory complexes from, I think it was 53 civilizations. And they've all got our best interests at heart. That due to previous interference on this planet by the Ra group and other people, or other social memory complexes that walked upon the Earth, and how humans viewed them as deities, gods, angels, etc. Permission now has to be sought before actual physical contact on this planet can be made. However, we can contact any social memory complex via our mind through meditation anytime we want. It's there for us. They just can no longer directly interfere due to our free will. Okay, otherwise they're manipulating, which goes against the law of one, because we've got to find our own journey there. And I don't want people confusing Ra light love with the New Age love and light movement, because I feel there's a lot of distortions in that as well, and a lot of appropriation doesn't need to occur. So that's, I think, pretty much where we are on this one. I hope you've all got something out of this. It's quite a session to go into. So the sessions do get harder as they go on. Hopefully, if I'm less fluey, I will make more sense of them. But I just wanted to get something out there for you guys. So enjoy and take care, and go in light and love of the infinite creator. Take care.